In the year 2125, humanity had expanded far beyond the Earth. Humans were now scattered across countless planets, working with other alien species to create a powerful, united galaxy. As humans adapted to their new place in the universe, they began to build alliances with alien races, but not all relationships were equal. Jordan had always lived a simple life on Earth. He was a young, eager citizen, proud of his work with the government. When the Galactic Council introduced the state-assigned Alien Partner Program, it caused quite a stir. The program was designed to assign a personal alien partner to each human citizen. These aliens were meant to serve their human partners, helping with daily tasks, learning human culture, and being available whenever needed. It seemed like a good idea at first, until the details came to light. Jordan had been assigned a partner from an alien species called the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie were tall, elegant beings with long silver hair and sharp, glowing eyes. They were known to be highly intelligent, but their history with humanity was complicated. Some said they had once been enemies, while others claimed they had willingly joined the human alliance. The truth was unclear, but one thing was certain: these aliens were now under human control. Jordan wasn't sure how he felt about having an alien partner. He had heard rumors about the program, about how the aliens were altered to serve humans. They had their memories wiped, and their instincts were shaped to ensure they never questioned their new role. It was a strange idea, but it was now part of the way things worked. As Jordan waited for his partner to arrive, he wondered what it would be like. Would this alien truly be just a helper, or would there be more to this arrangement? The doorbell rang, snapping Jordan out of his thoughts. He walked over to the door and opened it. Standing in front of him was the alien he had been assigned, Lyria, a Valkyrie. She was taller than Jordan, her features sharp and graceful. Her eyes were a deep shade of violet, almost glowing in the dim light of the hallway. She stood perfectly still, her hands folded neatly in front of her. "Hello," Jordan said, trying to sound friendly. "I'm Jordan. You must be Lyria." She nodded slightly. "Yes, I am here to serve." Her voice was calm, almost emotionless. It wasn't what Jordan expected. He had imagined that an alien, especially one with such an impressive appearance, would be more expressive. But Lyria was as still as stone. She seemed like someone who had been trained to do exactly what was expected of her. Jordan stepped aside, allowing her to enter. "Please, come in." Lyria moved silently into the apartment, her presence filling the space with an air of quiet authority. As she walked, Jordan couldn't help but feel that there was more to her than what met the eye. Her calmness was almost unsettling. He had expected to feel more at ease with her, but something about her quiet, controlled nature made him uncomfortable. So, while Jordan began, trying to break the silence, "What exactly are you supposed to do? I mean, what's your role here?" Lyria turned to face him. "I am assigned to assist you in any way you require. I have been trained in various tasks: cooking, cleaning, learning human customs, and more. I will be available whenever you need help." Jordan nodded slowly. "Right, that makes sense. I guess we'll figure it out as we go along." Lyria didn't respond, simply nodding in agreement. There was no sign of emotion on her face, nothing to indicate what she was truly thinking. Jordan wondered if she even had any thoughts beyond what she had been trained to do. She was supposed to be a companion of sorts, but she felt more like an obedient servant. As the days passed, Jordan began to settle into this new arrangement. Lyria followed his every command, cooking meals, cleaning, and even accompanying him to work meetings. She was always efficient, always precise, but there was no warmth in her actions. Jordan had hoped that their partnership would be more than just functional, that they could share a genuine connection. But Lyria was distant, cold even. She did everything she was asked without question, but there was something missing, something he couldn't put his finger on. One evening, after a long day of work, Jordan sat on the couch, watching the news. Lyria was sitting across the room, silently observing him. She was always watching, always present, but never truly engage. "Lyria," Jordan said, turning to her, Do you ever feel like you want more than this?" She looked at him, her violet eyes almost glowing in the soft light. For a moment, there was a flicker of something in her gaze, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "I am here to serve you, Jordan. My purpose is to assist." Jordan frowned. There was something unsettling about her words. It was as if she had been programmed to say that, to believe that. But Jordan couldn't shake the feeling that Lyria was more than just a servant. There was a depth to her, a quiet strength that he couldn't ignore. As he sat there, lost in thought, Jordan realized that this was only the beginning. The state-assigned alien partner program was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. There were secrets to uncover, mysteries to solve, and perhaps a deeper connection to be made. Lyria might be his partner now, but Jordan was beginning to wonder, who was she really? And what did it mean for their future? Jordan couldn't shake the feeling that there was something strange about Lyria. It wasn't just the way she followed his every command without hesitation. It was the way she seemed to look at him sometimes, like there was more to her than just a servant. There were moments when her violet eyes would flash with something. An emotion, maybe. But it would disappear before he could figure it out. And despite her calm, distant demeanor, there was an undeniable air of intelligence about her. Jordan wasn't sure what to make of it. One evening, after Lyria finished preparing dinner, Jordan decided to do some digging. He needed answers about the state-assigned alien partner program, the initiative that had brought Lyria into his life. Everything about it seemed too perfect, too neat. He pulled out his personal tablet and began searching for information. The official government documents were easy to find, filled with promises of peace and cooperation between humans and aliens. The program was described as a way to promote harmony and understanding. But Jordan had lived long enough to know that official stories weren't always the truth. The more he read, the more confused he became. The program, it seemed, had been introduced nearly a decade ago, but there were gaps in the timeline. Years where nothing was mentioned. The records suggested that the Valkyrie, Lyria's species, had been one of the first to join the program, and yet there were no details about their history with humanity. There were mentions of treaties and negotiations, but everything was vague. Jordan felt that the truth was being carefully hidden. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. Something didn't add up. The Valkyrie were an ancient species, one that had traveled the stars long before humans. They were known for their wisdom and advanced technology, yet they had willingly joined the program. That didn't sound right. The Valkyrie were not a species that would simply bow to human control. As Jordan dug deeper, he found a secretive section of the archives. An old classified file labeled Project Valkyrie. Integration. His heart raced. He tapped it open, and the words that appeared on the screen sent a chill down his spine. The file revealed that the Valkyrie had once been powerful enemies of humanity. They had fought several brutal battles during the early years of human expansion, and their resistance had nearly wiped out entire human colonies. But then suddenly, the Valkyrie had disappeared from the battlefield. No one knew why, and the official history had been rewritten to claim that they had surrendered peacefully. Jordan wasn't so sure. The more he read, the more it seemed that the Valkyrie hadn't surrendered. They had been forced into submission. The human government had developed a way to alter the minds of the Valkyrie, to strip away their memories and reshape them into servants. The state-assigned alien partner program had been a way to control the Valkyrie, to ensure they would never rise up against humanity again. The program wasn't about peace, it was about domination. Jordan's mind raced. Lyria, his assigned partner, was not just a servant. She was part of a larger scheme, one that had been kept hidden from the public for years. And yet, despite everything he had learned, there was something about Lyria that didn't fit the picture. She wasn't like the others. She wasn't just a mindless drone following orders. She had moments of clarity, moments when she seemed to remember something. A past, a life, a purpose that she wasn't meant to have. He stood up, pacing the room. What was he supposed to do with this information? If he exposed the truth, would anyone believe him? The government had worked hard to keep the program a secret, and the public trusted them. The thought of betraying Lyria, his partner, the one who had always been so polite and quiet, felt wrong. She had no idea what had been done to her, what her true history was. She had been reprogrammed, just like all the others, but somehow she was different. Jordan was snapped out of his thoughts when he heard the soft sound of footsteps behind him. He turned around to see Lyria standing in the doorway, her violet eyes watching him intently. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," she said softly. Her voice was still emotionless, but there was something in the way she spoke that made Jordan pause. "No, you're fine," Jordan said, his heart pounding. "I was just looking into something." Lyria stepped into the room, her gaze never leaving him. "What were you looking at, Jordan?" Jordan hesitated, unsure whether to tell her what he had learned. He didn't know how much Lyria remembered, or if she even remembered anything at all. But one thing was certain: she deserved the truth. "I found some things," Jordan said slowly. "About the program. About you." Lyria's expression didn't change, but Jordan could see the slightest shift in her posture, as if she was bracing herself for something. "I know what they've done to you, Lyria," Jordan continued. "I know about the mind control, the memory erasing. You weren't meant to be just a partner. You were forced into this. You're not just a servant. You're—" Before Jordan could finish, Lyria raised a hand, silencing him. Her eyes, for the first time, seemed to flicker with something, a hint of recognition, of awareness. "I know," she said quietly. "I remember more than I'm supposed to." Jordan's heart skipped a beat. The truth was out there, and Lyria knew it too. What came next was unclear, but one thing was certain: things were about to change. The days that followed were filled with a quiet tension. Jordan couldn't stop thinking about what Lyria had said. "I know more than I'm supposed to." Her words echoed in his mind, and the weight of the discovery pressed heavily on him. For so long, he had thought of Lyria as just a partner, someone to help him with daily tasks. But now, she seemed to be something more. Someone who had memories, who had thoughts, and who knew that something was wrong with the system that controlled her. Lyria, for her part, had been unusually quiet after their conversation. She still followed Jordan's instructions without question, but there was something different in the way she moved, something more deliberate. It was as if she was waiting for something, waiting for a sign that she could trust him. One evening, as Jordan sat at his desk, reviewing some work on his tablet, Lyria approached him. She didn't say anything at first, just stood by his side, her presence calm and steady. Jordan could feel her eyes on him, waiting. "Lyria," he said, breaking the silence. "What do you remember?" Lyria paused for a long moment before speaking. "I remember fragments. Faces, places, a life before this one. But they are not clear. The memories are clouded, as if they belong to someone else. Sometimes I see flashes of who I was, but they fade quickly." Jordan's heart ached for her. She was trapped in a fog of forgotten memories, unable to reclaim the life that had been taken from her. And yet, despite the confusion, there was a strength in her words. She wasn't lost. She was searching for answers, just like him. "I can help you find those answers," Jordan said, his voice firm. "You don't have to be controlled by this program. You're more than what they made you." Lyria's violet eyes looked at him, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of hope in them. "Do you think it's possible?" she asked softly. "To find the truth, to break free?" Jordan nodded. "I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out. I won't let you be a prisoner of your past anymore." There was a long silence between them. Lyria seemed to be considering his words carefully, her gaze never leaving his face. Finally, she spoke again. "There's a place," she said quietly. "A place where my memories are kept. It's hidden. A secret facility that belongs to the government. I think they use it to control us, to keep us from remembering who we really are." Jordan's eyes widened. A hidden facility. This was bigger than he had imagined. The government had been hiding more than just the truth about the program. They had been keeping the aliens' memories locked away, controlling them in ways Jordan hadn't even realized. But now, with Lyria's help, he had a chance to find the answers. "We need to go there," Jordan said, determination in his voice. "We need to find that place and see what's really going on." Lyria nodded slowly. "But it won't be easy. The facility is well protected. It's not just guarded by security. There are systems in place that will erase any memory of anyone who tries to enter. We would have to be careful." Jordan was undeterred. "We'll be careful. I won't let anything happen to you." As the days passed, Jordan and Lyria began to prepare for their journey. They gathered information about the hidden facility, trying to learn as much as possible. The more they uncovered, the more they realized how deep the conspiracy went. The government had been using the state-assigned alien partner program as a cover, not just to control the Valkyrie, but to erase their history, their identities, and their culture. The program wasn't just about making the aliens obedient. It was about making them forget everything that had made them who they were. Jordan couldn't stand the thought of it. He couldn't imagine what it would be like to have your entire life erased, to have your memories stolen and replaced with false ones. And Lyria, she was just one of many who had been affected. How many others were out there, living with the same empty, controlled existence? The closer they got to uncovering the truth, the more dangerous their situation became. They had to move carefully, staying under the radar to avoid detection. But with each passing day, Jordan and Lyria grew closer, not just in their mission, but in their bond. He had never imagined that he would find such a deep connection with an alien, but as they spent more time together, he couldn't deny it. There was something between them, something that went beyond the program, beyond their roles as human and alien. Lyria was no longer just a partner assigned to him by the government. She was a person, someone with a past, with dreams, with a future that could be free from the shackles of control. And Jordan was determined to help her find that freedom, no matter what it took. That night, as they sat in the quiet of their apartment, the weight of their mission hanging over them, Jordan glanced at Lyria. She was sitting by the window, her eyes lost in thought. "You're not alone in this, Lyria," he said softly. "I'll be with you every step of the way." Lyria turned to look at him, her expression unreadable. But for the first time, there was a spark of something in her eyes, a flicker of trust, of gratitude. And in that moment, Jordan knew that no matter how difficult their journey might be, they would face it together. The journey to the hidden facility was no easy task. Every step they took felt like a step closer to the truth, but also a step into danger. Jordan and Lyria traveled in silence for most of the way, their nerves taut with the knowledge that they were being hunted by a system far more powerful than either of them. They had spent days gathering information. The facility was located on an isolated planet, far from human colonies. It was shielded by advanced technology, with no direct path leading to it on any map. The government had gone to great lengths to keep its location a secret, but through careful planning and with Lyria's knowledge of her people's hidden histories, they had managed to pinpoint its location. It was early morning when they arrived at the planet's surface. The air was thick with fog, and the landscape around them was barren, with jagged cliffs rising sharply against a dark sky. The facility itself was buried beneath the ground, its entrance hidden beneath layers of rock and dust. "This is it," Lyria said, her voice steady, though there was a trace of uncertainty in her eyes. "The entrance is hidden beneath the old ruins. We'll need to find the exact coordinates." Jordan nodded. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was it. The truth was just within reach. But as they made their way through the fog, Jordan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every rustle in the wind, every creak of the rocks beneath their feet, felt like a warning. As they reached the ruins, Lyria knelt down, tracing her fingers across the ground. "It's here," she whispered. "We just need to activate the mechanism." Jordan watched as she worked, her fingers moving swiftly over the ancient symbols carved into the stone. The ground rumbled softly, and then, with a sharp hiss, a hidden door slid open in the ground before them. They stepped inside, and the door closed behind them with a soft thud. The air in the facility was cold, and the walls were made of smooth, polished metal. It felt like they were walking through a tomb, the silence pressing in on them as they moved deeper into the heart of the place. They passed through long corridors, their footsteps echoing off the walls, until they reached a large chamber at the center of the facility. "This is it," Lyria said, her voice barely a whisper. "This is where they keep the memories." Jordan's heart raced as he looked around. The room was filled with strange machines, their purpose unclear, but their presence menacing. The walls were lined with glowing data panels, and in the center of the room stood a large, circular platform, surrounded by cables and wires. It was unlike anything Jordan had ever seen before. Lyria stepped forward, her eyes scanning the room. "The memory extraction process is done here. They use these machines to erase and control the minds of the aliens. My people are brought here, their memories wiped clean, and then they're made to forget who they really are." Jordan's anger flared. The thought of what they had done to Lyria, to all the others like her, made his blood boil. They had been treated like tools, stripped of their identity, their very essence. And for what? To keep them under control. To use them as pawns in a game of power. Lyria moved toward one of the data panels, her fingers brushing over it as she studied the information. "These systems store the memories they take," she said. "But there's something else, something deeper hidden in the archives." Jordan followed her, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the screen. It was filled with strange symbols and data streams, none of which made any sense to him. But he could tell that this was where the true secret lay. This was where the government kept the information they didn't want anyone to find. Lyria's fingers danced over the controls, her movements swift and precise. "I can unlock the archives," she said, "but it will take time." Jordan stood guard, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of danger. He had no idea how long they had before the authorities would realize they had found the facility. They couldn't afford to waste time. But as Lyria worked, he began to feel a sense of calm settle over him. They were so close. The truth was within their reach, and together they would uncover it. Minutes passed, then hours. Lyria didn't stop, her concentration unshakable. Jordan stayed close, but his mind kept drifting. What would they find in the archives? Were the answers they sought really worth the risk? Finally, with a soft beep, Lyria stepped back. "It's open," she said, her voice filled with a quiet triumph. Jordan stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. The archive was a vast network of data, filled with files and records, some of which were labeled in a language he couldn't understand. But there was one file, one name, that caught his attention. It was labeled Project Origin. Lyria's breath caught in her throat as she read the title. "This is it. This is the key to everything." Jordan's hands shook as he accessed the file. The information on the screen began to fill in, revealing a truth far darker than he could have imagined. Project Origin wasn't just about the Valkyrie. It was about all the alien species that had been brought into the program. It was an experiment in control, an effort to erase the identities of entire races, to rewrite history, and to create a society where the government held absolute power over every living being. But what shocked Jordan the most was the final line of the file. "The human race is the true origin. All others are mere tools for their survival." It was a chilling revelation. The government had been using the alien races not just to control them, but to ensure humanity's dominance. The Valkyrie, the other species, they had been pawns in a game much larger than Jordan had ever imagined. And now, with the truth in his hands, Jordan knew there was no turning back. They couldn't just walk away from this. Together, he and Lyria would expose the truth, no matter what it cost. The cold, metallic walls of the facility seemed to close in around them as Jordan stared at the screen. His mind raced, trying to process the chilling revelation. The human race is the true origin. All others are mere tools for their survival. The words echoed in his head like a warning. How could this be? How had they not known the truth until now? Lyria stood beside him, her face pale as she read the same file. It was clear from her expression that the weight of the truth had hit her hard. For so long, she had believed her people's suffering was an accident, a result of the government's cruelty. But now she knew the painful reality. The system wasn't just controlling her race. It was controlling all of them, using every species as mere pieces in a grand game. "This is worse than I thought," Lyria whispered. "They've been planning this for centuries. Every alien race, every species they've enslaved. It was all to ensure humanity's survival. We were never meant to be equals." Jordan shook his head in disbelief. "But they've made it seem like we were the ones being protected. The Valkyrie, the Lyrians, even the humans, they've made it seem like they were giving us a chance to survive. And all along, we were just tools in their hands." Lyria's hands clenched into fists. "It's not just the aliens. It's everything. Their entire empire has been built on lies. And if we don't do something about it, it will continue. No one will ever be free again." Jordan's gaze hardened. They couldn't let that happen. They had come too far to back down now. The truth was in their hands, but it was up to them to expose it. They had to get out of the facility and into the hands of the people who could make a difference. The archives they had uncovered were just the beginning. "I don't know how much time we have," Jordan said, his voice urgent. "The government will find out we're here soon. We need to leave before they send reinforcements." Lyria nodded, her expression determined. "I've been inside this facility long enough to know the layout. There's an escape route through the lower levels, but it's heavily guarded. We'll need to move fast." Jordan didn't hesitate. He trusted Lyria, and he knew that with her knowledge, they had a chance to escape. "Let's go," he said, his voice low but steady. They moved quickly through the facility, avoiding the security cameras and silent alarms that would alert the guards to their presence. Lyria led the way, her steps confident and sure, while Jordan kept his eyes peeled for any sign of danger. Every hallway seemed to stretch on forever. Every shadow felt like it could hide a threat. The deeper they went, the more they realized how high the stakes had become. This wasn't just about escaping the facility anymore. This was about exposing the truth to the galaxy. As they reached the lower levels, they encountered their first obstacle: a group of armed guards. The tension in the air was palpable as the two of them pressed themselves against the cold walls, holding their breath. The guards walked past them, oblivious to their presence. Jordan's heart pounded in his chest. They couldn't afford to make a single sound. Lyria motioned for him to follow her, and they crept forward, careful to stay out of sight. She paused in front of a heavy metal door, her fingers working quickly to unlock it. Once it was open, they slipped inside, and the door clicked shut behind them. "This is the control room," Lyria whispered. "It's where they monitor everything. If we can disable the security systems here, it will give us a clear path to the exit." Jordan nodded, understanding the importance of the task. They couldn't risk getting caught now. Lyria's hands flew over the control panel, her eyes focused as she bypassed the security protocols. Jordan kept watch, his senses on high alert. Every second felt like a lifetime, and the weight of their mission pressed down on him. Finally, with a soft beep, the lights in the room flickered, and the security systems shut down. Lyria exhaled in relief. "It's done. Now we can go." They hurried out of the control room, making their way toward the exit. But just as they reached the final hallway, they heard footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Someone was coming. Lyria's eyes widened in panic. "We don't have much time. If they catch us, no." "We'll fight," Jordan interrupted, his voice firm. He wasn't going to let them be caught, not after everything they had uncovered. The footsteps grew louder, and Jordan tightened his grip on the weapon Lyria had given him. He wasn't a soldier, but he had no choice now. He had to protect her. They had to get out of there. Suddenly, the first guard appeared, turning the corner. Jordan didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, knocking the guard off balance with a swift blow. The guard crashed into the wall, unconscious. Before the other guards could react, Lyria grabbed Jordan's arm and pulled him forward. They sprinted down the hall, the sound of their footsteps pounding in their ears. They'd reached the final door, a large reinforced exit, just as more guards appeared behind them. Lyria punched in the override code, but the door didn't open immediately. "Hurry," Jordan urged, his breath coming in quick bursts. Finally, the doors slid open with a soft hiss, and they ran out into the open, the cold air of the planet's surface hitting their faces. They had made it, but their fight was far from over. They had the truth, but the government would stop at nothing to keep it buried. Now, they had to find a way to get the information to the people, to spread the word before it was too late. As they ran toward the ship that would take them off the planet, Jordan knew one thing for certain. The world they knew was about to change, and they would be the ones to change it. The stars shone brightly above them as Jordan and Lyria stepped onto the surface of the barren moon. They had barely escaped the facility, but the truth was now in their hands. They had no time to rest, no time to celebrate their victory. The danger was far from over. The government was aware of their actions, and the moment they returned to a major settlement, they would be hunted down. "We can't go back to any known worlds," Lyria said, her voice steady but laced with concern. She scanned the horizon, making sure they weren't being followed. "We need to find the resistance, the people who will help us get this information out there." Jordan nodded. He didn't need to be told twice. It was clear that their mission had only just begun. Exposing the truth about humanity's role in the galaxy wasn't going to be easy. The government would stop at nothing to keep their lies intact, and without help, it wouldn't stand a chance. Lyria led the way through the rocky landscape, her pace quick but deliberate. They had a long journey ahead of them, and time was running out. The Resistance was a well-hidden group, one that had been operating in the shadows for years. They had avoided the government's reach, but with the new information that Jordan and Lyria carried, they would have to step into the light. After hours of walking, they arrived at a hidden outpost, tucked away in a narrow canyon. The entrance was guarded by a group of soldiers, all wearing dark, unmarked armor. Lyria approached one of them and spoke in a low voice, her tone respectful but firm. The soldier nodded and signaled for them to follow. Inside the outpost, the atmosphere was tense but determined. The walls were lined with screens and terminals, all showing encrypted data and communications. It was clear that this was no ordinary resistance group. They were organized, well-prepared, and deeply committed to their cause. "Welcome," a tall woman with sharp features greeted them. "I'm Captain Zora. I heard about your escape. We've been expecting you." Jordan and Lyria exchanged a look. They hadn't known anyone in the Resistance would be aware of their arrival, but it made sense. With the government hunting them, they needed to move quickly. Zora motioned for them to sit, and they complied. "I assume you have something important to share," Zora said, her piercing gaze locking onto Lyria. "The galaxy is watching. If what you have is as serious as I believe, it could change everything." Lyria nodded, her eyes narrowing. "We have evidence that proves the truth about humanity's control over every alien race. Project Origin. It was designed to keep humans in charge, using every species as tools for their survival. The government has been lying to us all along." The room fell silent. The weight of the revelation hung heavy in the air. It was as if the entire Resistance had collectively held its breath. Zora leaned forward, her expression intense. "How do you plan on getting this information out?" Zora asked, her voice calm but urgent. "The government will do everything in its power to suppress this. You've made a lot of enemies already." Jordan clenched his fists, feeling the pressure of the moment. They were up against the most powerful force in the galaxy, but they couldn't back down now. The truth had to be known. "We have to expose the truth to the public," Jordan said. "But we can't do it alone. We need your help to broadcast it, to get it to every corner of the galaxy." Zara looked at them thoughtfully before nodding. "We have resources, but they're limited. We can get you to a secure communications relay on the planet of Kazal. From there, we can broadcast your message to every system." Lyria's eyes widened. "Kazal? That's a government stronghold. It's heavily guarded." Zara smiled, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "That's true, but we have a plan. We've been building connections with people inside the government, sympathizers who've been feeding us information for years. If we can get you to the relay station, we'll have everything in place to help you." Jordan wasn't sure if he should be relieved or even more anxious. They were about to take on one of the most fortified locations in the galaxy, but it seemed they had no other choice. This was their best shot. "We leave immediately," Jordan said, his voice firm. The resistance quickly sprang into action, preparing for the mission ahead. Zara led them to a small shuttle, one that would take them to the planet of Kazal. It wasn't the fastest ship, but it was inconspicuous and well-equipped for the task at hand. As they boarded, Jordan couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. The weight of their mission was heavy on his shoulders. "This is it," Lyria said quietly as they took off, her eyes focused on the view outside. "If we can get this message out, we could change everything. No more lies. No more control." Jordan nodded, but deep down, he knew this was just the beginning. The path ahead would be dangerous, filled with obstacles and enemies that would stop at nothing to prevent them from succeeding. But they couldn't turn back now. They had come too far. As the shuttle sped toward Kazal, the stars stretching out before them, Jordan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just fighting for his freedom. He wasn't just fighting for Lyria. He was fighting for every being in the galaxy who had been oppressed, controlled, and silenced by the lies of the government. The time for change had come. The shuttle descended toward Kazal, the heavily fortified government stronghold. Jordan's heart raced as the city's towering spires grew closer. They had come so far, but now they were just a few moments away from one of the most dangerous parts of their mission. The planet was a hub of government activity, a place where the highest leaders operated. Getting in would be hard, but getting out with the truth, that would be nearly impossible. "This is it," Zara said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. She sat at the controls of the shuttle, navigating through the asteroid field surrounding Kazal's atmosphere. "Once we're inside the city, we'll have to move fast." Lyria glanced at Jordan. Her expression was a mix of determination and anxiety. "We need to do this. No matter what happens, we can't turn back." Jordan nodded, though his thoughts were a storm of uncertainty. He had never felt more alive, but also more aware of the risks they were taking. They had everything they needed to expose the truth about humanity's role in the galaxy, the government's lies, the manipulation of alien species, and the dark secrets they had hidden for so long. But this was a place of great power. Every step they took could be their last. The shuttle landed in a hidden alleyway, the doors hissing open. Zara led the way, moving with practiced stealth. They wore dark clothing to blend in, and their faces were partially obscured to avoid recognition. The air was thick with tension, and the streets of Kazal felt like they were closing in on them. The city was alive with the hum of technology, but it was also a place of constant surveillance. Every corner was watched, every movement scrutinized. "This way," Zara whispered, motioning for them to follow. "The communications relay station is just ahead. But we'll have to deal with the security systems first. Once we get inside, there's no turning back." Jordan's heart pounded in his chest. There were guards at every corner, and the security cameras were everywhere. One wrong move, and the whole mission could fall apart. But they had a plan, and it was their only chance. As they moved closer to the building housing the relay station, they crouched behind a series of crates. Zara pulled out a small device from her bag, a jammer designed to disable the cameras for a short period. She activated it, and the screens monitoring the streets flickered. They had only a few moments to move. Now, Zara hissed, and they darted across the open space toward the building's entrance. They made it inside without incident, but their challenge was far from over. The interior was a maze of corridors, each one filled with security doors and guarded by armed personnel. But Zara knew the layout of the building like the back of her hand. They moved quickly, sticking to the shadows as they made their way to the communications room. When they reached the door, Zara hacked into the control panel with swift fingers, bypassing the security system in seconds. The door clicked open, and they slipped inside. Jordan couldn't help but stare at the array of equipment inside. It was the heart of Chazel's communication network. The entire galaxy was connected through systems like this, and they were about to use it to change everything. "Get to the console," Zara instructed. "I'll set up the broadcast. We have a small window before they notice we're here." Jordan rushed to the console and began typing rapidly, setting up the necessary protocols to transmit the data they had collected. Lyria stood beside him, watching for any sign of trouble. The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. The door to the room suddenly slammed open. 2 guards stormed in, guns raised. Jordan's heart leaped in his chest. He had expected trouble, but not this soon. Zara reacted without hesitation. She pulled a small pistol from her belt and fired 2 quick shots, disabling the guards. They collapsed to the floor without a sound. Jordan couldn't believe how calm she was in such a tense moment. "Keep going," Zara said. "We don't have much time." Jordan didn't waste another second. His hands flew over the console, sending the message out across the galaxy. The broadcast was set to reach every planet, every civilization that had been affected by the government's lies. The truth would be known. There would be no more hiding. As the final command was entered, a deep rumble shook the building. The alarm systems blared to life, and the door to the room slammed shut. The sound of footsteps echoed outside, signaling that their time was running out. "It's done," Jordan said, his voice filled with relief and exhaustion. "The message is out." But as the realization settled in, they knew the hardest part was still ahead of them. They had no way of knowing how the galaxy would react to the truth, or what the government would do to stop them. But there was no turning back. They had chosen to fight, to expose the lies that had held the galaxy captive for so long. Zara looked at them, a faint smile playing at the corners of her lips. "You did it. The galaxy will never be the same." Suddenly, the door to the room burst open. More guards rushed in, and the escape route was cut off. Jordan's heart raced, but this time, they weren't alone. The resistance had arrived. A group of rebels stormed into the room, guns blazing, taking out the guards one by one. Zara nodded to Jordan and Lyria, signaling for them to move. "We'll cover you," one of the rebels said. "Get out of here. We'll make sure the message reaches the galaxy." Jordan and Lyria didn't hesitate. They ran for the exit, knowing that the mission was a success, but the war for freedom was just beginning. As they stepped into the night, Jordan looked at Lyria. "We did it." She smiled back, her eyes filled with hope. "Now we wait. The galaxy will hear the truth." And as they vanished into the darkness, they knew that they had sparked a revolution. The fight for the truth had only just begun.